Live. All right, we're live now on Twitch and on Facebook Live. Carol, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Robbie. It's a bittersweet night for me, Well, yeah, I can't even say bittersweet. It's a bad night because of the outcome of our Washington teams, but it's also a bittersweet show for me because this not my official sign off, but I'm going to be letting Robbie take over the Monday night show and run with some things. I have some transition going on. And honestly, I'm tired of a certain social media platform suppressing our views. And Robbie seems to be getting more views and more traction on his page and his new Twitch channel. All the shout out to all his new Twitch followers and all the raves and parties and stuff y'all be doing that I have no idea about. But I appreciate all of you guys. Excuse me, joining in and showing Robbie love and helping spread love for our SportsOTHP family. But I'll get to that later on. I ain't trying to start off on a somber note. But I'm doing pretty good, man. It's been an interesting couple of weeks, I'll just say, sports-wise and in my life-wise. But glad to be here. Let's rock and roll and talk about the bad, the ugly, and a little bit of good.
Yeah, let's bring in the DC's People Champ next. I see that he's also in our Twitch stream. He's one of my moderators, so I appreciate that, Champ. And Champ, how are you doing tonight?
For those listening on the podcast, you can't see this, but as always, whenever something like what happened yesterday with the Commanders happens, I have to wear this shirt, and it says, what? As in, what in the Sam Hill happened to this team yesterday? We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. And we're bringing in Dujunnea Bland, one of our guests that always talks Washington football with us, from whether it's been the Redskins days, the Washington football team days, and now the Commanders days. And we saw a lot of what we saw the previous week. We talked about it a lot last week. But Dujunnea, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Great football. My Chargers didn't do such a great job, but overall, great football weekend. Some interesting stuff happened. And not the interesting stuff I thought would happen with the Washington football team as far as their play. I didn't think they would win, but the play was just not up to par.
Yeah, I can't believe that this is only the second time in history that a score has ended as it did in this one with 24-8, which I thought was an interesting stat. And it's very frustrating to basically not play a first half of football 2 weeks in a row. And Carol, you got to go to the game, be there pregame, during the game, and postgame. Give some of the assessment of going to the game live, and then let's start breaking it all down as you do.
Righty. Yeah, I was at the stadium early. I had some nice sick tickets and seats preview. Thanks for my cousin. I had a bad feeling when I first got there because there was a lot of green already tailgating when I got there, and I was checking the pregame out on some of the other radio stations, and they were saying how the Eagles fans, were coming down in busloads and had a billboard of how they were going to come to torment Wentz. And I wasn't expecting as many fans. I haven't been to a Philly Washington game at FedEx in a while, and the last time I went, it wasn't that bad. It was maybe 10, 15 years ago, so a whole different mindset. But I had a bad feeling off of the break to see how strong their fan base followed them down here. They were, sadly to say, louder than our fans. When our team was on offense, their defense chants was louder than when they were on offense and we were trying to rally up our defense. Not that I'm blaming the fans. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving my observations of what was going on. I was there. I mean, it was a good vibe. And, as I said in my pregame, if Del Rio and Turner didn't come out with a better game plan, this game would get ugly quickly. And I was half right because Scott Turner's game plan, I don't know what it was. Del Rio had an effective game plan to start the game out. The first quarter, they were locking everything down. The offense couldn't get going. They put up a donut. They only had 32 yards of total offense. And this is from the top-rated offense in the league. But you cannot continue to give them opportunities when your offense is going 3 and out or your coordinator's doing 5-step drops when you have a backup center and you obviously have issues with stunts and going up against one of the better defensive lines in the league. And for some reason, Scott Turner saw no reason to adjust his thought process until it was too late, which we've seen 2 weeks in a row. I'm starting to feel like I'm seeing Jay Gruden 2.0, where he sees what works. We saw in week 1 going against Jacksonville, the quick passing game, get the ball in the playmaker's hands, 3-step drops, quick screens, stuff like that. Now we're seeing 5-step drops, 7-step drops when you're on your own damn goal line. I mean, I'm not understanding his logic because you know what worked to alleviate pressure. We have another, 3 weeks where we have 3 teams coming in with great defensive lines is going to do the same thing they've seen on tape. And unfortunately, I don't know where we're going to go because for some reason, coach has unwavering faith in both of them. Like I said, Del Rio, I felt, made adjustments. He contained their run game, which was averaging 190 yards a game, only gave up 72. But then you get shredded in the passing game for, 270-something yards in the first half and 3 touchdowns. My issue is with Kendall Fuller on the defense. I don't know what's going on with this dude. They were talking about how strong a camp he was having. First 3 weeks of the season, he's been a liability on defense. St. Juice went out there, got the start, played the hell of a game, in my opinion. You're not going to shut down his offense, but, they did contain it for the most part. But somebody has to be held accountable, and somebody has to, something has to change because keep on saying we're learning, we're getting better as early in the season. Yeah, you keep saying that it's week 3. You're going to keep saying that come week 7 when they 1-6 or 2-5. And I just feel like something has to change. I hear all the fans crying and whining and complaining. I haven't even dignified their comments with responses because, like I said, the week before, it's like they're more happy when the team loses than when they win. They have some valid points, but I don't see it as a wholesale, blow the team up, yada, yada, to sell and Daniel Snyder had to sell the team, all of that crap. But from the coordinator, something has to change because you have to put these players in a position to win. We've seen flashes of what this team can do. And the flashes we've seen so far this season, if it continues this way, yeah, I don't even know if coach is going to make it through the whole season. And that's from somebody that's in this corner. And if nothing changes and we continue to see the same thing we see, inconsistencies, not playing 60 minutes of football, communication mistakes. I understand they had a couple of new players out there. They had Wild Goose out there. They said that Castro was supposed to be a stronger cornerback than him. So I was wondering why he got to start instead of Castro. And I just something has to change. Like I said, the offense, stagnated for the second week in a row. No points in the first half. They started out better. They got some first downs. They moved the change and flipped field position, so they didn't put the defense behind the 8 ball in the first quarter. But then the second quarter, the dam finally broke. The offense got loose. They started getting big plays. And like Coach said last week against Detroit, they had 6 explosive plays. I believe they had 5 explosive plays this past week. So the opposing offense is getting explosive plays and our offense isn't. And when that happens, along with turnovers, it's going to be an L no matter what you do. You're muted, Robbie. You're muted.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
It wouldn't be the final show without Robbie.
It's true. It's true. I want to thank all the people for tuning in live on Facebook. A bunch of people have joined us. Eric has joined us once again, saying that the Commanders didn't do anything to resist. No promos, no contests, no incentives. Philadelphia disrespected Washington. And basically just, I kind of agree. I feel like they kind of were okay with Eagles fans just buying up in all the tickets. And
I mean, StubHub is nothing you can do. People put their tickets up and somebody else buys them. The team can't control who, when they sell the third party, they can't control who buys the tickets. So if the fans that say they don't want to support the team and are selling their tickets to StubHub instead of selling them back to Redskins.com or going onto a Redskins site or Commander site to sell their tickets, They're selling them to StubHub to make more money, and that's why the fans, oh, that's Daniel Snyder. He's just being greedy. He's selling to the other teams. No, the fans are putting their tickets on StubHub. So if you don't want other teams raiding the stadium, put your tickets up for other Commanders fans. Don't put it on StubHub. Then you can't control who gets it. So all of that whining and sentiment about that, the fans control that. The team doesn't. So if y'all mad about that, stop selling your tickets on StubHub. I'm tired of this whining. This is going to be an uncut show for me since this is my last show. I'm politically correct on this show, and I've been taking the high road, but I'm letting some folks have it on my final show, and then you can follow along if you like what I got to say, because all of this whining and belly aching from the fan base about the Daniel Snyder curse and fans taking over because he's greedy. No, the fans have more to do with that than Daniel Snyder does.
Tell them why you mad, son. Tell them why you mad, son. Word up. Tell them why you mad, son.
You already know, champ. You know how I'm going. This being, like I said, my not final show, but, show for a while. Yeah, I got to get some stuff off my chest before I get up out of here.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. All right, Dujunnea, it's 6-3 right now in this Cowboys versus Giants game, which is interesting now because the Giants could go 3-0 if they somehow find a way to beat Dallas in New York. It's a low-scoring initial game here, but what were some of your thoughts overall in this division, since now we have the Eagles playing the Commanders on one side, and now we've got the Giants playing the Cowboys on the other side. What were some of your thoughts on yesterday's game?
Much of the same. Here we are again, another week. You had the announcers, Schlereth was saying that as well. Making adjustments early in this football game was a big deal. They didn't do that again, making those adjustments. And the 5-step drops when your offensive line is a revolving door is ridiculous. But I'm going to echo something that a colleague of mine, C. Walls, had to say on her show earlier. And the fact of the matter is that dumb, ridiculous, trash dump TMZ type report on Commanders quarterback Carson Wentz was weak and lukewarm dumpster juice. Second, that report got him shook. He felt some type of way about that. Not only did he feel some type of way about that report, he also felt some type of way when the crowd was booing him darn near out of FedEx. That was full of Eagles fans that bought their tickets like everybody else who wants to buy tickets on it. When you don't have the ability to buy it, you have to buy a third party. And they booed him out of the stadium early. And from the jump, she said that everybody has a tick. And that's what gets his goat. And he was shook from the jump. Yes, offensive line once again did not play well. His offensive coordinator did not do him any justice. I mean, you guys want to know what your drive summary was for like the first, I believe, 7 drives? It was punt, 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 fumble, punt, punt, punt. They had one drive where we had a nice run. You had a nice run by Gibson, gets a first down off of that. They were able to at least convert that to a first down, I believe. And then it's what you want for Carson, a nice boot. Linebacker's coming in his face, but he's got plenty of time. He throws a dirt ball to Bates. And the drive goes to nothing again. He was part of this, but offensive coordinator Scott Turner, look, man, I don't know what people got to do to get this man to make changes earlier. All you had to do was shorten the drops and get the ball out quicker. I mean, the announcers are saying this halfway through the first quarter as he's getting worked back there because his offensive line couldn't block to save their life. They probably couldn't block if it was just nobody standing there and it was shadows. Like, it was ridiculous. Same thing as the week before against Detroit. And if you think this is going to end, well, they got a guy in Micah Parsons that's coming that you're going to go see here next week. So they're not going to change that. I don't like this Sean McVay, I've got every wide receiver in the business and I'm just going to cock back and throw the ball because I got a quarterback that can wing it. Well, your offensive line isn't protected very well. That's my problem. Defensively, I thought they gave them every opportunity to try to get back in the game. And at some points during the game, you're like, okay, no biggie. They'll get it. I mean, it was 0-0 at the end of the first quarter, guys. They were very much in this ball game. And repeatedly, the defense was let down by the offense. So, I mean, we can talk about how bad they played in the second half, but you know what, bro? They were out there like half the game. They were the ones doing all the work. Now, I'm just going to briefly talk about the defense. I think they got enough pressure in the front four to get it done. My biggest problem is what you're going to have to fix is your cornerback room and who you're setting up. Because St. Juice should have been on the outside from the jump. Let him grow out there because he's aggressive. He plays ball. He knows he's playing with proper technique. He's not getting personal PIs and personal foul calls out there. He's balling. But you got to find a nickel corner. Like, I don't know, Kendall Fuller need to go find himself. Like,
they got to put him back in the slot, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Where are you playing him now? He's trailing all the time. We talked about this last week. We talked about this week one. He's trailing all the time, and he's trying to pick his pants up because they're down around his ankles, and he ain't nowhere in the area code. Half the time when these explosive plays happen, guess who it's against? Number 29, bottom line. So, I'm not giving Jack a whole lot of credit here because, people know how I feel about him. I mean, they should be handing him tickets out of here. First flight, red eye, to wherever he wants to go. But at the end of the day, this wasn't on Jack Del Rio. Defense balled out. You put the team behind the 8 ball when they score 24 unanswered points in the second half because your offense can't even get it going. They can't smell a first down. It was embarrassing. And Scott's got to stop doing this nonsense. And I'm going to say one more thing along with what CP said. We're learning. We talked about this, Robbie, I believe, before the Detroit game. We are in year 3. I don't want to hear nothing. I think I said this on my show, too, the breakdown. I don't want to hear nothing about we're working and learning. It's 3 years for these guys to be here, especially my man, Del Rio. There ain't no learning. You got mostly returning guys. These guys should be performing. So it's either, I don't believe it's them, it's coaching. Because coaching has to marry to the personnel that you have. You can pigeonhole your people into what you want them to do all you want. You will fail every time if that is not their strength. Obviously, the strength of this offensive line is not to drop back and pass all the time. We've had this conversation, especially me and CP3. We've had this conversation over many times about this team, how they really respond and how the offensive line starts to gather itself. It's by running the football first. In whatever fashion that is, because you've got many options in Samuel as well. So you got to do something. It's dropping back every time. We want to drop back from here to Egypt and think the offensive line is going to hold up when they haven't done it. They haven't proven that in 8 quarters now. You think you're going to drop back to Egypt and Dallas? They're going to work him in Dallas.
See, that's the thing. He's not giving them an opportunity to run the ball. The
right.
three weeks, Gibson has had 14, 14, and 12 carries.
Facts.
Carson has thrown the ball over 40 times in each game. That is not the combination for success when they had Heineke. That was not the combination for success when they had Smith.
Nope. And now when you got injuries along the offensive line right now where guys are playing out of position.
Exactly. So
help them out, man.
But this is what's upsetting me the most with Scott being on the sideline now. Ron has no reason not to yoke that dude up and be like, look, it's not working.
You want to know why, though? You want to know why? Look, man, and I wasn't gonna go here, but like I said, my colleague C. Wall, she went here, and I agree with her, and I've thought about this and thought about this as well. He is SAWFT, soft. He is a passive man. Look, everybody and their mama, whether you're on the couch and you got a dingy white shirt with Cheeto stains, or you sitting in FedEx Field, knew to throw that flag on that non-catch. But our coach needs to be told to do that. He can't be aggressive, just throw the stinking flag, because he don't want to take no chances to be wrong. That's just riverboat. All right? But he's waiting for somebody to tell him. Now, I'm sure the stadium was hollering about that call. But you know why they rushed up there and snapped that ball as quick as they did? Look, man, they knew daggone well that wasn't a catch. You got to call a timeout there. If you're not sure.
That's a valid point, because I was soft. Actually at the 50-yard line, and I was on the opposite sideline of where he caught the ball. And when he caught it, I looked, and not even looking at the Jumbotron, I was like, it's no way he got both his feet in. Just by, like I said, I'm at the 50-yard line across from the play. And the play happened in front of the Commander's sideline. So I'm standing there like, it's no way that was a catch. And I'm like, okay, when is he going to throw the flag? And I see Philly getting to the line quick. And I was on Twitter today briefly, and somebody made a very astute observation, kind of like what you just said. You can see the difference in the two teams, as Philly knew it wasn't a catch, but they got their team up to the line to snap the ball. We kind of knew it wasn't a catch, and it took our coach for someone else to tell him to throw the flag, and they missed the opportunity. That shows the difference. And by you saying that, you kind of piggyback on that, because I didn't think about it that way until I saw that, and I was like, that's a valid point.
And let's go vice versa with this. So how many times have the Commanders had questionable plays and we just lollygag up there like we just out on a stroll in the mountains just having a good time, knowing the opposing team is going to throw a challenge flag, and likely it's a questionable play, right? Nope. What we do? Shuffle foot. We'll take our sweet time. We'll sit around in the huddle, and then guess what? Give the opposing team enough time to throw a challenge flag on a questionable play that we're not sure of. Everyone's unsure of. And then you put it in the referee's hands to ruin a good thing. It goes both ways, man. Like, he ain't yoking up no Scott Turner because he's just soft. That's who he is. But at the end of the day, there's some changes that got to be made. I'm not ready to say his job's on the line. I really don't think. I think he's got another year at least.
Only reason I say that is because after 3 weeks, you can't keep on saying the same thing. And
I agree.
We're not seeing it. Like when I saw that when the Sam Mills, the third, when he made that move, I was like, okay, Jack's serious. If you're not performing, you don't see eye to eye, then okay, we're going to part ways. So I'm like, okay. So if he
that was a scapegoat, somebody had to go, and it wasn't going to be Jack, so they had to let him go. It should have been Jack, but whatever. I don't know what the attachment is here, because to me, he ain't done nothing in 3 years. Nothing in 3 years.
We've seen flashes. That's the thing. We've seen flashes.
Ain't no level of consistency.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we've seen the potential of what this team can be, and I guess that's the teaser. And it's like, okay, we're not that far away because we did it for 4 games in a row for 2 years against quality competition.
Right.
It's just for some reason, the other 12 games, it goes to shit. So I'm not sure what it
Coaching.
is.
Guy comes out every time in the biggest moments and piss down his leg. Every time.
It's head scratching. And one of the things when I was at the game, I was trying to get I would love to get into the post game and ask some of these real questions because these soft ass reporters won't ask them. And
yeah, they'll ask a question about a quarterback job being in question. Dumb question. The dumbest question I heard in a media room. But this media crew is known for people asking dumb questions, and that's exactly what I said. I said it, cut it, and reposted it.
It's facts, so you can't dispute that. And like I say, when I was talking to Fred Smoot yesterday after the game, I was like, I can't get in it, but when Scott Turner goes, I need somebody to ask him what the hell is he doing? Is he Jay Gruden reincarnated? Why is he going against what's working? Jay down in St. Louis supposedly helping McVay, and we see what they're doing.
But it's trendy. It's trendy, right? It's trendy. Everybody, all these young guys come out here with their quarterbacks, and they try to toss it all over the yard. Every time. I even throw the Chargers in there this past week. You got a team and the Jaguars that are punching people in the mouth. All right. And what they come out and do, want to toss it all around in the yard. Mind you, with a quarterback that's got like cartilage damage.
Oh, yeah.
That's his ribs. So we throwing it all over the yard. And Scott Turner, same thing. It's trendy. I mean, I'm sure CP3, you knew right from the gate. All of y'all knew right from the gate. This was going to be Pass City because he came out there slinging it. And I'm like, all right, first series, test them and see what you can do, right? Then you actually go back and try to, come up with some creative schemes to get the run game going with Samuel, stuff like that. You know what I mean? What do? That joker come right back out here again. Now you 5 to 7 step dropping it, and he's getting murdered back there. Murdered. It's a meeting at the quarterback every time, and you can tell defensively that's all they had to do. Push the pocket, get to him, boom, done. And your offensive coordinator sitting down on the sideline, and he acting like nothing's happened to his quarterback, and his offensive line isn't getting worked harder than a heavy bag in a gym. Like, I don't know what to tell you on that, but he's sorry, bro.
I would love to be on that side. I just want to hear some of those conversations. Like I said, I just want to know, because to me, it's going to come to a point where the players got to say something, because I'm not going to say I saw it in their body language on the field, but you can tell the difference between a team that's buying in and riding with their coach, and you see a team that's just like going through the motions. And after the third quarter, after the second quarter coming out in the third, that's kind of what I felt like. They were just going through the motions, because you're down 24-0. Why are you still going to the huddle? You should have 2 plays ready to rock and roll. He talk about the up-tempo practice and keeping it moving. I didn't see none of that. No sense of urgency, no nothing. And it's third quarter. You can't wait till the fourth quarter, 10 minutes, and you down 16 and like, okay, let's try to see if we can get it going. No.
Same thing in Detroit.
Yeah, so I'm like, what are y'all looking at? Who is advising? Who is speaking up saying, hey, coach, I know this is your philosophy and your scheme, but we're getting screwed by your decisions. Let's change things up, because obviously this isn't working. And from some of the comments I heard that Jonathan Allen said, it seems like he's starting to get frustrated to that point already. So
they did a lot of work. They did a lot of work, and they kept this team in the game for at least a quarter and a half until they were getting gassed. They were getting gassed because the offense wasn't out there. Yeah, offense wasn't out there long enough. And I don't believe there's any panic. The players seem to be, even killed. But I do believe that, Scott Turner's play calling is not where it needs to be to help this football team, but their execution is not where it needs to be either. But at the same time, the coach's job is to help those players perform to the best of their ability, and you coach to what you have on the football field. You got some new pieces on the offensive line. They're now trying to gel together with all these things. I think it's Schweitzer is not the guy that's the one normally making these calls at the line. So they're all trying to gel. We all know how this works. When you take a few pieces out of a well-oiled machine, it takes a little bit of time for that thing to get back in rhythm, and they're not in rhythm. So the job of the coordinators to help those individuals to get back in rhythm and at least get them lathered up, get them firing off the ball at the same time, and put them in positions where, it's cut and dry. And you're just complicating things by, especially against good teams that pass rush, allowing them to tee off on your guys. That's basically what you're doing. And again, some of it is on Carson as well. I think, he reading the clippings and that he felt some type of way about that. Otherwise, coach wouldn't have mentioned it. And at the end of the day, that was a team that he was drafted by. Let's not forget what he did for that football team. And then for those fans to come out there and boo him, and with that report, I think he felt some type of way. And I think he was in his own head, mentally as well. So
I missed the report. You mentioned it earlier, and I didn't,
I missed it too. I heard it being mentioned, so I looked it up, and I didn't even read it. I just saw the headlines and how many headlines they were. And I'm like, these guys, I'm really sick of these type of people making money. Go work for TMZ, man. But, this is the fact that people it's to the point where it had to be brought up or someone brought this up. I mean, coach had to address it, wasn't happy about it. It's ridiculous. And it happens to this team a lot, but I'm tired. I'm tired of it across the league. Like, that's not show fodder. That's not real reporting. Who gives a crap about whether they talk to him or not? And if it was true, we would have known about that a long time ago. I mean, it would have been well known. So it's the most dumbest stuff. But again, Carson's got to be a little bit better. Yeah, I think his feelings were a little bit hurt. That's his first stint. That's the place where he had some really good success. Loved that area and loved that team, and they don't love you back. I think that hurt. That got him a little bit. That was his. That's his soft spot, and I don't think that's with every team. That's just with this one.
Yeah, it's a shame, because I was hoping that it would teach him to stick it to this old team, and it's very frustrating. We got a ton of comments over on the live on the Facebook. I really appreciate everyone. Andrew Morales was shouting you out, D Bland. He says the man, the myth, the legend, and then go Rams. Eric was also saying, he was curious about this report. He's also rooting for the Giants over the what he called the Clown Boys. It's an interesting game. Right at the very end there, I'll just say that the Giants were trying to drive to go up by 2 field goals. In the end, Dallas they basically the turnover on downs on 4th down. Dallas got into field goal range. They tried for a 59-yard field goal attempt, and it was no good. So it didn't end up hurting them, but it was just an interesting decision instead of just punting it from the 40 something. It's in that questionable zone, right? You're on the other side of the field, but just barely. But it almost cost them. So Dallas is up 6-3. So the Giants, I guess, were trying to drive to tie the game, which makes more sense. But still, it's a questionable call because it almost bit them. But anyway, it's the team that we're playing next week, so I thought that would be a good segue. Eric also saying that he doesn't need a QB1 that has to be coddled. That mental toughness is important.
I get that, Eric. My thing is, though, it's kind of like breaking up with your first love. If you had that, or a first girlfriend that really kind of took your heart a little bit, and that's his first love. That's where he was drafted. They had great success. I personally, I think you should know better. You know how Philly fans are. But I think that played a role, and he was shook a little bit, man. And I'm not saying that that's an excuse. I'm just saying that that's the reality of it. Everybody has their kryptonite, so to speak, and I believe that is it. And hopefully he can get past that.
I mean, honestly, I didn't know about the report or whatever, talking trash or whatever they said. But to me, after getting your head beat in the first half, he was hearing footsteps that wasn't there in the second half.
He was, man.
Throw to John Bates, that was because he felt somebody was coming that wasn't there.
Yep.
And by then, he was, like you said, he was shell shocked, and it was done. Folks was calling for Heineke, and it possibly could have made a difference because he could have bought time with his feet and
possibly, Who blocking?
Yeah, but for some reason, when Turner puts in Heineke, he changes the game plan. He moves the pocket.
Oh boy, that sounds like a little RG3.
Yeah,
Kirk
he
Cousins
does more misdirection.
Talk here.
Yeah, I mean, you see it. Like, he ran two misdirection plays and a bootleg for Carson, and he had success. And then we didn't see it no more throughout the game.
Yep. I do not understand it one bit. I don't get it at all. It's baffling.
Let me go over these stats real quick so I ain't writing them down for no reason. Hurts, 22 for 35, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 123 quarterback rating.
Ooh, wee.
Wentz, 25 for 43, 211, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 71 quarterback rating. Miles Sanders, 15 carries, 46 yards, 3.1 yard average, no touches. Gibson, 12 carries, 38 yards, 3.2 yard average, 1 touchdown. Devonta Smith, who I just cut off my fantasy football team, went for 8 catches, 169 yards, 21.1 yard average, and a touchdown. Most of that was on Kendall Fuller, which we've talked about.
Yes.
Terry McLaurin, 6 catches, 102 yards, 17-yard average, no touches. I need him to get a touch because he's on my squad too.
True.
I took my first loss in fantasy this week.
I took my third loss. In my dynasty. I'm getting sick of it. In one league, I'm 3-0 though.
Yeah, well, I'm 2-1 now. Well, it's not official, but yeah, I'm 2-1. I started Chargers defense over the Broncos defense, man. I got a -6, bruh.
Bruh, that was so bad. I turned that off. I turned that off at the half.
That game was trash. That game was trash.
I turned that off at the half.
Denver got 17 points. Chargers got -6.
Yeah.
I lost by 24.
Bruh, they worked them, man. I'll try to tell people, Jags are a better team than people trying to give them credit for.
And Doug
Peterson is doing an excellent job, but he's using his weapons and the players that he has to their strengths. Everybody talked bad about the Christian Kirk move, and I did too. But you know what? They using him the way that they need to use him, along with, look at Zay Jones, a guy who I left on my bench. He's playing well. They're just utilizing the guys on the field the way that they need to. And the defense is playing very respectable football. Now, don't get me wrong, Chargers were missing some people, but at the end of the day, those same people went out there and did what they did against Kansas City and almost came away with the win. So there's no excuses. They got worked.
Yeah, at least Robinson got me a touchdown in that game. So, team stats. And this is what's kind of a head scratcher. When you look at the numbers on paper, it doesn't look as bad, but when you actually watch the game, the numbers don't do it justice.
Right.
Because the second half, the Commanders did get back into it, and they did hold the Eagles back for the most part. They didn't score in the second half. They scored all their points in the second quarter, but they pretty much had the game in hand, so they weren't really being over aggressive trying to get more points. Philly had 21 first downs. Washington had 20. Philly was 5 for 15 on third down conversions. Washington was 6 for 17. And I said this, I think I said on the post game on my show last week, The third down numbers look good, but the problem is they getting first downs on first and second.
That's I said that on my show too. It's like, third down numbers are great, but there's a thing where these teams are not even getting a third down most of the time. So of course they look good because the times that they do get the third down are very rare.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that's killing me, these explosive gash plays because of miscommunication.
They had 16 explosive plays up to this week. Add in probably 5. So now you're up to 21 explosive plays through 3 weeks. Not very good.
That's not a good number at all. You don't want that number at that high.
In the words of the old ball coach. Not very good.
Eric was asking if it was Cousins or garbage time stats. So, it's
they were still that's a good question. I mean, that's why I said I didn't see any sense of urgency in them trying to score. I didn't see no sense of urgency in like, we're still in this, let's do it. It was like they were just going through the motion. So yeah, it was just stats because they did the end of the first half, they were -16?
Yeah. That was
so awful. I mean, that valid point, but I mean it's
agreed.
Let me finish up these horrible stats. Like I said, the numbers passing 153 yards for Washington, 328 for Philly, 72 rushing, 87 for Washington, 72 for Philly. So they kept Hurts in the pocket. They slowed the run game, which you want to make a
2.4 yards per carry when they were averaging 6.8 yards per carry through 2 games.
Yeah, so you generally want to take one thing away from a team when they are their strengths.
Right.
Now, it kind of took away 2 was they kept Hurts contained in the pocket, and they slowed the running game, which is very hard to do when you have a RPO zone read quarterback. So that's why I say everybody talking about how bad the defense played. The defensive line played hell of a disciplined game. And I said that in the beginning in my pregame show against Jacksonville when they kept Trevor Lawrence in the pocket and didn't get burnt by his feet. I said that was the only glimmer of hope that I had for this game, that they would keep Hurts in the pocket and they would have to beat him with his arm. We saw what he did last week against Minnesota, so that really isn't saying a lot. But I'm feeling like if you can at least stop their running game and our corners can play solid and, give up a player here, in between the 20s, cool, but the red zone they hold out, they got a chance. But yeah, no. Like I said, I'm not going to put it all on Kendall Fuller, but a majority of those explosive plays have come on.
They're on him.
Exactly. And
that's a problem.
I read his post-game comments saying, you got to, cornerback life up. You got to look at the next play, look forward, and just go to your technique. I'm like, yeah, when have you gone to your technique this season? Because obviously it hasn't been working. And every time I see you, like you say, you're in a trail position, you're grabbing, you're holding, and you're fighting for your dear life.
You can't go to technique when your pads are around your ankles and you getting ready to trip and fall on your face half the time. I mean, 90% of the time he getting twisted around like a merry-go-round. Then all of a sudden his hands up and flailing up in the air, trying to hopefully hit the ball, and he ain't nowhere near in the area code. Receiver catching the ball and getting big plays. Like, go back and look at the tape for 3 weeks.
I mean, against Smith yesterday on that 40-yard catch that he had.
Yeah.
He turned his hips the wrong way.
Wrong way.
He spun to the left when the play was going to the inside. He spun himself out of position. So I'm like, you're talking about technique. Yeah, I'm like, you're talking about technique and you doing stuff ass backwards.
Yeah, don't make sense to me.
Yeah, and this is the stuff that nobody talks about, but they want to blame Del Rio. I'm like, nah, Del Rio had a good game plan. His players are executing. His fault is not taking that dude out.
Facts.
Because
put him where he's going to be at his strength, at least. But yeah, he over there, he's spitting up all over himself, and you won't take him out to help him.
I say if Jackson can't go next week, I say Christian Holmes need to be out there.
Yeah, I mean,
what you got to lose?
Nothing. I mean, you got to try something when you got a guy in Fuller, basically filling this diaper up out there on the field. I mean, it's awful. It's awful. I mean, there's a bunch of. I mean, what was the guy they had out there? White
Wild
Horse,
Wild
Goose, or something. He played a decent game outside of the two illegal contact calls.
I mean, well, they should have been illegal contact. It shouldn't have been pass interference. They called both of them
right.
pass.
That's right, they did, and it should have been illegal contact.
But I want to put a memo out to the numbers guy. Whatever cornerback takes 37, change their mind, because remember the dude Neal came in the last game of preseason and got toasted, and now we see another 37. So to the uniform, to the number assigned guy, next cornerback that comes up, 37 is a no-go.
As a matter of fact, why don't you just go on and just take that on out of the –
y'all
don't have a 37. Y'all don't have a 37 at all.
No more.
There's no number 37 for the Commanders.
Because whenever they touch the field, they just be out of position. They just be in the wrong place. Like, it's like the old electronic football. You turn it on, they just rumble around. And he was just going the wrong way every time. It was crazy, bro. It was crazy. But
Dujunnea, I want to get your quick thoughts on playing. It's Cowboys week, it's Dallas week. You know, we have to touch on it. I know that I don't want to keep you too long. It's already been 50 minutes. So I want you to give your thoughts on that, and then we'll let you get up out of here, and we'll get Champ's thoughts on this past game, and get Carol's thoughts, obviously, on the Dallas game as well.
So you go into Dallas. We all know that this offense has potential from what we've seen for a few quarters at least. I picked it as a loss. There's a reason to that. Dallas is lukewarm dumpster juice without Dak. I mean, I don't care what people want to say about Cooper Rush, whatever. Cooper Rush couldn't hold Taylor Heineke's jock strap, so I don't want to hear about Cooper. They barely trying to beat a trash dump Giants team, so whatever. Defensively, what we saw for 2 weeks is going to hold true, because it seems to me that Scott Turner just can't get out of his own way. It's in Dallas too. They bringing a lot of heat, and they're going to go looking right at the same tape that all of us look at, and they're going to work them. Will it be a high-scoring game? Absolutely not. I think it'll be kind of what we saw here this past week here. 24 points is probably your max. They just got to score points. They got to be able to score points, but I don't see them winning this game at all. And from quite frankly, do I see Carson Wentz playing as bad as he did this week? No. But I also see a lot of the same early as well, because I think the defense showed us something a little bit here, and you got a less mobile quarterback in Cooper Rush. He can't run, but I'm not afraid of Zeke or anybody else. So, I mean, I think you put St. Juice on CeeDee Lamb or however you want to do it. That's the guy you got to worry about. They ain't got much going for them over there on offense. So is it a winnable game? Yes. Is it a game they're going to win? Absolutely not. I just think
only Carol had it as a win in our entire pick'em. Everyone picked him. A lot of homers in the bunch. Everyone picked against us in Dallas next week.
And again, like I said about Eagles, it's just too early in the season. I figured they wouldn't have it together completely offensively, and we see from this past game with the Eagles, they just don't have it together, especially with the injuries and the changes along the offensive line have played an issue. But I think – I don't even know why I'm saying this, because I really was confident that they would come out and at least be able to move the ball up and down the field and get some points, and at least make a game of it. If they could get in it, and the defense showed up the way they did, they should have won the game, honestly, if the offense from Jacksonville and from the last half of Detroit game shows up, but it didn't. And Dallas is just one of those games, you know what I mean? And you're going on the road. I just don't see them winning it, man. It's going to be another loss. I'm thinking it'll be a close one, though, like 24-17, 21-17, somewhere around in there.
Dallas is only favored by 3 right now, so it's not like they're,
Then like I said, I think it's going to be a close. I don't think they're going to run away with it. I mean, it felt, I'm sure, to fans worse than what it was, but I mean, 24-8 was not that bad if you score a few more points, like most of us think that this offense has the ability to do. I mean, they scored all their points in one quarter. And I know what Carol's saying. They kind of took their foot off the gas, but at the same time, there's other points where this defense, we thought there was foot being taken off the gas, and people were going down the field in 2 plays and scoring on them, especially in Detroit. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see it at all. And, it's another loss in my opinion.
All right. Well, Dujunnea, I'll let you go on that just because I know your time is tight. But thank you so much for joining us, and I'll be looking forward to getting your analysis next week after that Dallas game to see if we think anything differently about our Commanders here. But I appreciate your time as always.
No problem, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I always appreciate being here.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll let you, Mike.
All right, brother. Yeah, I know this is the last one for a while.
Yeah.
But, we'll try to get together at some point, man, when on one of the other shows. But it's always real. You'll be back.
Oh yeah, I'll be back. See if I can chime in sometimes, jump away when I'm on lunch or something. See if I can jump on sometimes. Do maybe a couple of surprise jump ins. But as always, man, I appreciate you, man. You helped get me on this path. Started when I was a blogger. Helped me in the transition, branching over to radio, and we've been brothers in arms for years. Still haven't met in person yet. Still got to make that happen.
We will.
But appreciate all the love, all the knowledge, all the tutelage, and all the appearances on all the shows that we've done and going to continue to do. Much love, and definitely going to be hollering at you, bro.
Amen, man. Much love.
Much love, DJ. Hey, Extreme Rules next Saturday. You in?
Yeah, I should be here.
All right, I'll see you.
All right, brother.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, I do want to get Champ some of his thoughts. I know that he was holding back, so we had
go ahead,
Dujunnea. But Champ, give some of your thoughts on this past game, and then your thoughts looking ahead towards Dallas.
Right. So Carol and DJ basically said everything that needed to be said in terms of from a media and somewhat of a fan's perspective as well. But as someone who's been a fan of this team for the longest time. Basically, what Philadelphia did on Sunday is they came into our house, didn't wipe their feet, crapped in our toilet, and didn't flush, and then left. Ate all our food, by the way, and then left. That's what they did. The score that happened on Sunday, 24-8, only, and Robbie, you mentioned this at the start, only one other time has that score been a final score, and that was 47 years ago. 47 years ago. That was 7 years before I was even born. Okay. That should give you some perspective on how rare it is that a final score is that. That offensive line looked lost. They looked absolutely lost to the point that the Philadelphia Eagles defense became the first defense in the first 3 weeks of the season to tally 9 sacks. 9 sacks. Those 5 big guys up front let Carson Wentz get knocked down, hit 9 times for sacks. It was absolutely it was hard to watch, honestly. It was hard to watch. Thankfully, a lot of it I was listening to on the radio because I was going to pick up my son and then ended up not getting him because poor guy's dealing with migraines and wasn't feeling good. So a lot of it I was listening to on the radio, but they were saying yo, they got to do something here. These guys got to step up and this, that, and the third. And it's yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done to tell them to step up, but if they're just out there, just whatever with it, then they're not going to do anything. One situation where, the offense went out there after the defense was out there for a very long drive. I mean, a very, very long drive. Offense went out there and coughed up the ball. The defense literally had to go back out there after not even being on the sideline for 5 minutes. And they got hit, they got gashed, and they scored, and Eagles scored a touchdown. That's the prime example right there of both sides not really being in sync. And as a fan sitting back, I was hopeful after the first game against the Jags where they looked competent. They looked good. Then Detroit happened. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get a touch worried. Then we lose to our division rival at home before we have another game against a much more heated division rival on the road. I'm like, I know it's early. I don't want to hit the panic button, but I'm starting to get a little worried. And now we got Dallas coming up, which, depending on the result of the game tonight, they could be riding on a high even off of a short week if they end up stopping the Giants from continuing to be undefeated. My worry is that Carson Wentz has had 89 passing attempts in 2 games. Even if you combine all of Antonio Gibson's rushing attempts in all 3 games, that doesn't even come up to half of those passing attempts. That is a very, very telling thing, that the offense is just that unbalanced, that they are pass heavy instead of balanced or even run heavy. That's very, very worrisome to me. And that's going to make the scene very, very predictable and very, very easy to read, because they know, okay, if they go on the center, they're probably going to still throw. Well, if they're in the shotgun, they're going to most likely throw. There's not going to be anybody that's going to sit back and put 8 in the box because they think that Antonio Gibson or J.D. McKissic is going to beat them. They're going to rush 4, maybe 5, and cover and get coverage sacks all day. So this game was not fun to watch. This is not easy to watch, but I'm hopeful. I'm very, 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 very hopeful that this team can adjust and do what they need to do against Dallas in very hostile territory, because we know that Dallas is going to be loud. It's going to be ruckus. It's going to be loud. They got to do what they got to do against Dallas. They're going to have one extra day. They know what they need to do. They just need to do it, period.
I real quickly, it's going to be interesting to see what Dallas ends up doing against us and how many Commanders fans are there. I mean, usually there's a lot of fans of the Washington football team in Texas. And so it'd be curious to see if they pick up the new moniker and come out and support the team or not on the road. And because Dallas has not had the best home record over the course of, the last couple of seasons, actually ever since they opened up that stadium. And so it'll be interesting to see how Dallas does. Dallas actually just let the Giants kind of drive on them a little bit, but they held them on 3rd down. Giants ended up getting a 51-yard field goal to tie the game at 6. So it's a tough game right now. It's happening up in Meadowlands. Be interesting to see. I kind of hope that it's a grinded out kind of overtime, like make them work extra, maybe a body bag game. That would be helpful for us down the line. I'm surprised the Giants are looking pretty good this season. Everyone's talking about how terrible they are, but they're 2-0. And if they beat Dallas tonight, they go up 3-0 in the division, which I think surprises a lot of people. But I still kind of think the Eagles are the best team in the division.
Yeah, they are. Giants have a new head coach. They have talent. They've been drafting high for the last few years because of, not being good. So, like Dujunnea was saying about Jacksonville, it's about getting the right coach in there, the players buying in and taking advantage and putting the players in a position to win. And that's what they're doing in Jacksonville. That's why, I was talking about Doug Peterson when we played him first week. And I felt like, if our team didn't come out and play, well, that they would beat us also. Now we can look at the last 2 weeks of Jacksonville. They shut out the Colts and then they beat, the Chargers yesterday, a team that nobody would have thought they would have beat. So it's all, like I say, you can see the difference in teams that are going in the right direction and are buying in, and then you see, unfortunately, our team. So I mean, it's a head scratcher. Like I say, I'm aching to be somewhere. I'm trying to get in there because I want to ask some of these questions that these reporters aren't asking, because
I just don't understand why they don't run these screens or slants or something to get going some misdirection. That's
what I said to Fred. I was like, Fred Smoot, I was like, look, I need y'all to ask, how come week 1 against Jacksonville, he ran 6 screens. The last 2 weeks, he's ran a total of 4. And then he runs them when the other team knows he's going to run them. So I'm like, what is going on? I need some of these reporters to ask these questions instead of worrying about what uniform they're wearing or, all this other dumb stuff they be talking about. And
See,
these are the questions that need to be asked.
Here's the problem, CP3, and you know this all too well, that it's all about being able to have that access. And they know that if they ask those tough questions, they lose access and they lose their money maker. So they're too, I'm gonna be family oriented. They're too scared to lose out on that access and on that money to ask the tough questions. That's the problem. If they had the the cojones to ask those tough questions, I think they would realize that they would get a lot more, they would get a lot more out of what they can get instead of what they're, them throwing the softball questions and just making sure that they just get along. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's sickening. But like I said, I'm working on some things. I'm gonna find a way. But it's a head scratcher with this team right now. I know it's still early, and got lost to the Eagles, got the Cowboys. So but you remember we got the rest of the division games at the end of the season. So if they can improve and make adjustments, they can make up for it on the back end if they can make adjustments and get consistent and play 60 minutes of football and not do what we've seen the last 2 weeks. But it's like I said, I'm not done with the team. I'm just at the point where I can't keep on being saying, well, if they do this, they do that, then everything will be cool, because they're not doing it. So I'm just sitting back and waiting to see what happens, and then I just report on it. That's about it.
I don't blame you. All right. Well, it's an interesting close game between the Giants and the Cowboys. A couple of deep bomb throw attempts by the Cowboys, and now it's 4th and 13. It's 8:08 left in the third quarter. It's a tie 6-6 game. I know that Carol, that you've got a couple of things you want to talk about the Nationals. Hopefully, we can keep it fairly close.
Yeah, I'm gonna just run. Yeah, I didn't really watch many of the games. I'm gonna just run down the stats and just wrap up the season, because they only got 3 more games after this week of games with the Braves and the Phillies, and they had the Mets next week. So I'm just going to recap this past week. They got beat tonight, I believe 9-0 to the Braves. So it'll be real quick.
All right, sounds good. Well, Champ, do you want to stay on for the baseball talk, or do you want to give your sign off now, or what
really quickly, I did want to quickly touch on the Dallas game, and what this team needs to do is that
for sure
they gotta establish the run. They got to. This Dallas team, I don't think is that strong against the run. So they got to establish the run. They got to, so that this wide receiving core that's full of weapons with Dotson and Samuel and McLaurin can get their looks and get their touch, their receptions, and they can really be a balanced offense. They have to be a balanced offense, and it starts with establishing the run game so that those big guys up front can intimidate that front line of Dallas. So once they do that, defensively, they'll be able to be fine, because if they can have sustained offensive drives, that defense can be nice and rested, and they can go out there and they can do their thing. So that's what they need to do against Dallas. Balance out the offense, establish the run, have long sustaining drives with they can do. And that way, that defense can get plenty of rest, and they can go out there and get after Cooper Rush, because from what I've seen from Dallas, they're not really using Zeke a lot. Someone tried to trade for me for Zeke in fantasy, and I told him to go to hell. I'm like, nah, I'm cool. But they just gotta balance out the offense. The defense will handle itself. Just balance out the offense. They'll be fine. It's a winnable game. I think they win it, but we'll see.
Yeah. Carol, what are your thoughts on this game?
Just kind of the same thing that Champ and Dujunnea said. If they establish the run, it's a winnable game. The question is, are they going to win it? Are we going to see Scott actually make adjustments to the game plan, and actually goes to what works instead of goes what he thinks should work? And it's basically going to come down to that. I mean, they have the talent. They want to do well, but they have to be put in a position to do well. And like Dujunnea said, there were some, new pieces on defense. Those account for some of the miscommunications and stuff. Same thing on the offense, but they got to get it together. You can't keep on saying how, good practices is, and you're going to play how you practice and all this and that. And then you go out there and first half of the last 2 weeks, you put up 0 points. So, I mean, you can't keep on talking a good game. It comes to what you actually put on the field, put on tape, and put out there for folks to see. So until they start, putting the words to match what we see on the field, then it's just lip service at this point. So I'll be watching. I'll be doing the pregame and the postgame as always and covering it. But if they don't make any wholesale changes and get better, no matter who they go up against, it's going to be an L week in and week out.
Real quickly, Arun, of course, chiming in this time through Facebook. He said that he sent a message that Grant Paul Gruden had a .418 winning percentage, and right now Ron Rivera has a .416, and Jay Gruden had 2 winning seasons in his first 3, and Rivera has yet to have actually 1 winning season.
And they have a similar record after 32 games or whatever. I mean, yeah, but you look at the vast difference in the two teams. How many headlines did we have? How many players got put up for DUIs and got locked up for dumb stuff? At least he's changed the culture of the team. We don't have to worry about that off the field turmoil. Now, if we can just concentrate on the field stuff, then everything will be cool. But yeah, like I said, Jay's consulting in St. Louis, and we see what their record is after winning the Super Bowl. And I still have more confidence in Ron Rivera than I ever will have in Jay Gruden, just because I've seen him in action.
For sure. All right. Well, Champ, let people know what's happening on the No Spots podcast this week, and then we'll let you go. I appreciate you continuing to mod for a little bit on Twitch, but let people know a little bit about what you guys are talking about this week.
Well, one of the things we'll definitely be talking about is, and I'm a little bit on the delay here, watching Rob, a former NXT champion on the women's side, just returned to Raw a few months after having a baby. So that's why I had the shock face on my going on. But we are going to be talking about everything that happened this week with wrestling, as well as we're going to recap last weekend's Victory Road Impact Plus exclusive for Impact Wrestling, which was a really good show, as well as announcing what is going to win the next series of New Japan podcasts will be starting up, as we're going to be getting ready for the World Tag League and Super Junior Tag League combined tours coming up later in the fall. So that's coming up on twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch. The audio goes up the next day on all the podcasting platforms, and you can find us on the podcast partners button on SportsOTHP.com.
Sounds good. Thank you, Champ, for joining us as always. Carol, any final thoughts for Champ before we let him go?
Nah, man, as always, appreciate you taking the time. You was also one of the guys that was around when we started the show. Like I said, I'm not gone away, but I will be around. Like I said, I'm going to try to pop in sometimes. New career, new schedule, so can't do the Monday night show on a regular anymore. But as always, appreciate all your contributions. Appreciate all your times you coming out and support and everything. And appreciate you still rocking with the show, and keep doing what you're doing on your No Spots and keep growing and expanding, doing what you do, bro.
Brother, like I remember following you on Twitter, and then when I first met you, I didn't realize that you were one and the same, so that was a bit of a shock. But
yeah.
Over the years, we've grown not only as just like podcast colleagues, but as brothers, as friends. You know what I'm saying? We were there for each other when we lost GOP, and we've getting to hang out when you were doing a live pregame and postgame out in Maryland. You definitely gonna be missed. I know you're not gone, but your presence not being here is going to be definitely different. But I'm excited for what's to come for you personally, and hopefully you won't be gone for too long.
No doubt, no doubt. You're always more than welcome to come through Sundays at the bar right in Virginia, man. We always told you more than welcome to come through. I had a game on tailgating before. You're always more than welcome to come through Sundays at the bar, right in Alexandria, bro.
Definitely. Well, arigato, sayonara.
All right, brother.
All right, sounds good. Well, all right, Carol, just quickly run through the baseball. I mean, we just got blown out today. I was watching some of that game. I did no positive scoring updates because there was none. It was 8-0. But I will let you break down the other games real fast, and then we'll let you get out of here. I might do a quick little hockey segment for 2 seconds, and our guest is about to raid in a few minutes as well. So,
all right, cool. This is the Nats wrap up for 2022. Season didn't turn out the way I would have hoped. I mean, we know it wasn't going to be another World Series run, but it's going to look like it's going to be another 100. Well, now it is a 100 loss season with the loss tonight. They're currently 53-100 now. They are 3-7 in the last 10, coming off a 2-4 week last week. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Braves and lost 2 out of 3 to the Marlins. It's just not good. First game against the Braves was a 5-2 loss. Corey Abbott I couldn't even read my handwriting for a second. Corey Abbott took the loss for the Nats and dropped him to 0-3. He went 4 innings, giving up 6 hits, 4 runs, no strikeouts, and 2 walks. Kelly Wright earned the victory for the Braves, put him at 19-5. He went 6 innings, giving up 8 hits, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, and 1 walk. The Nats were down 4-0 before they knew it. I think it was even the 4th inning. And they put up 2 runs in the 5th. Victor Robles had a sacrifice fly, and Alex Call had an RBI double to account for the 2 runs in that 5-2 loss. Second game was a 3-2 loss. Closer game, but unfortunately still the same result. Charlie Morton earned the victory for the Braves. I put him at 9-6. He went 5 1/3, giving up 3 hits, 1 run with 9 strikeouts and 3 walks. Erasmo Ramirez took the loss for the Nats. I dropped him to 4-2. He went 3 innings, giving up 4 hits, 2 runs with 2 strikeouts, no walks. Kenley Jansen earned his 35th save. 36. He had a save in the first game also. That was his 35th. I forgot to mention that. My bad. And in this game, he got his 36th save by going 1 inning, giving up 2 hits, 1 run. That run wasn't earned with 2 strikeouts and no walks. The Nats got a fielder's choice by Christian Hernandez and a throwing error to account for 1 run in the top of the 6th. And Luis Garcia had an RBI single in the top of the 9th to account for the 2 runs that the Nats put up for the second game in a row. And the third game of the series, to avoid the sweep, the Nats were actually able to win 3-2. Andres couldn't even. So I was trying to read it right. Andres Machado earned his second victory of the season to put him in 2-0. He went 1 inning, giving up 2 hits, no runs, with 1 strikeout and no walks. Jesse Chavez took the loss for the Braves. That put him at 4-2. He went 2/3 of an inning, giving up 1 hit, 1 run, with no strikeouts or walks. Cal Finnegan earned his 11th save of the season, going 1 inning, giving up no hits, no runs, with 2 strikeouts and no walks. Top of the 5th, Lane Thomas had a sacrifice fly, and Joey Menendez had the game-winning 2-run home run in the top of the 7th to account for the 3 runs, and the bullpen held on and didn't give up anything after that to give it a 3-2 final score, and the Nats were able to avoid the sweep against the Braves. And then they had the Marlins, who as I said, they lost 2 out of 3 of them also. First game of the series was a 5-2 loss. Braxton Garrett had a great performance for the Marlins. I believe he's one of their young prospects and had a good bounce back game. He went 6 innings, giving up 5 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, and no walks. Josiah Gray took the loss. That drops him to 7-10. He went 6 innings, giving up 8 hits, 4 runs, 3 strikeouts, and a walk. Dylan Floro earned his 6th save, going 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, no runs, with a strikeout, no walks. Second game of the series was a 4-1 loss. Marlins had their ace on the mound, Sandy Alcantara. I believe he's in talks for the Cy Young. He earned the victory and put him at 14-6. He went 8 innings, giving up 3 hits, 1 run, with 11 strikeouts and 1 walk. Eric Fetty took the loss. That drops him to 6-11. He went 5 2/3, giving up 9 hits, 4 runs with 4 strikeouts and 1 walk. And Dylan Floro earned his 7th save, going 1 inning with no hits, no runs, with a strikeout and a walk again for his 2nd save in a row. And to salvage the series and not get swept, the Nats won yesterday against the Marlins 6-1. Anibal Sanchez in late season has pitched very well. Unfortunately, the season's about to be over. Wish he could have started that way, but he went to 3-6 on the year. He went 5 innings, giving up 2 hits, no runs, with 4 strikeouts and 2 walks. Edward Cabrera took the loss. That dropped him to 16-4. He went 3 2/3, giving up 6 hits, 3 runs with 3 strikeouts and no walks. The Nats didn't give up a run and give up that one run until the 8th inning. The first inning, Joey Meneses had a 2-run home run. And crazily, in the 4th and 8th inning, C.J. Abrams had got a hit with a player on, with a man on, and it was a throwing error, and they ended up scoring a run off of that in the top of the 4th. And then the top of the 8th, Abrams had an RBI single. But then in the 9th, Lane Thomas got a single and the throwing error by the same player, which scored another run. So, and that was after the Marlins announced that Don Mattingly would not be returning as the manager, which I thought he had been playing pretty well this year, but looked like he won't be returning. And I guess the team reacted the way they felt about it by losing 6-1. But at least the Nats were able to get 2 wins last week instead of just 1. Going into this week, the last 9 games of the season, might as well say, on a recap. Well, 8 games after the 8-0 loss tonight to the Braves. They have 2 more against the Braves, Tuesday and Wednesday. Both of those are 7:05 starts. Then they have a 4-game set in 3 days against the Phillies. That means there's a doubleheader on Saturday. Friday, it's a 7:05 start. Saturday, it's a 1:05 and a 7:05 start. And Sunday, it's a 1:35 start. And to end the season next week, they have a 3-game series at the Mets, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Monday and Tuesday at the 7:10 start. And Wednesday, the final game of the season, is a 4:10 start. And that will be the end of the 2022 season for the Nats. And another plus 100 loss season. Hopefully they can get some solid, get a solid draft prospects, and some of the players that we traded for this past 2 seasons can get out there and contribute. Like I mentioned, C.J. Abrams, one of the pieces. Joey Meneses got called up, a 10-year minor leaguer. The team, the cupboard isn't as bare as it was at the beginning of the season, even though we've given up a few pieces. And as I said before, I'm still not sold that Juan Soto won't be back in the Nationals uniform. You heard it here. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I still got it. He's a free agent in 2 years. And I don't think San Diego is going to lock him down long term. So things might not be as bad as they look in the next couple of years. So let's go Nats, and hopefully we can get back to at least being relevant in the division again and not 5th place, which we're not used to in a long time. Muted again, Robbie.
Sorry about that. So the Giants scored a touchdown in their last drive, and then the Cowboys are driving right now, making some good plays to get down the field, and they're within the 10-yard. It's a 1st and goal for them. So it's a close game. They're trying to look to tie the game up. And so KR is about to rate over in just a minute. But before he does that, I thought we would talk a little bit of hockey, just because it's the last time that we'll have an opportunity to do that. I don't know if I even have the Caps graphic up. It's somewhere over here. Hold on. I think, is this it? Yes. There's my Ovechkin and Backstrom holding the cup graphic. So interesting first preseason game. The Caps were actually beating Buffalo in the first game, and then Buffalo came back and scored 2 goals. I'm gonna pull up the full play-by-play here. So it's so Mantha scored the first one on a power play, a beautiful goal. The next 2 goals were Buffalo. Then Connor Sherry scored a goal at the end of the second period to tie it 2-2. Joe Snively scored to make it 3-2. And just with a little over 1 minute left to go in the game, unfortunately, we gave up a power play, and they got a power play goal, and they tied it up. And then they won in overtime, Buffalo that is. And then they had agreed previously they were going to go try a shootout at the end of it, which they do in preseason games. They agree ahead of time. Dallas just scored a touchdown, makes it 12-13. Zeke with the 1-yard run, 27 seconds left in the third quarter. They're going for the extra point here. But so it's a frustrating loss. And then they lost in the shootout, I believe, in the 7th round. But it's good to get some practice in the shootout. and in overtime. So I'm not too terribly mad about it. Only half the team was really playing. A lot of people are either banged up or they hold out a lot of them from the first game and try to get some of the young guys an opportunity, especially on the offense. The defense, we saw more stars on that side, but still not all of our stars. But Carol, what are some of your thoughts going into the season for the Capitals?
Like I wasn't aware of all of the injuries that they have until I read it. I sent you that article with, they did make some strong moves in the off season to help, try to get the team together to possibly go on another, try to go on another run. And it's definitely going to be interesting with, Backstrom and Oshie being out at the beginning of the season. Wilson still rehabbing. They said he probably won't be back until December. So it's going to be on Ovi for the first couple of months, which ain't no big deal. He can carry the team. He's done it his whole career. So, I mean, it's another season. You got your core. They bringing along more younger players. The defense has changed up. Hopefully got better. They got new goaltending. They got rid of, the guys we've been talking about, Double V and Samsonov. They're elsewhere now. So now you got Kemper, Stanley Cup winning goalie coming off of last year. And I forgot the name of the other backup. But they made some wholesale moves, didn't have to give up a lot of the pieces that they wanted to keep. And they feel like they built, try to make something happen and get to the playoffs. And, when you get to the playoffs and the Stanley Cup, anything is possible. So this team is always, in the talks for the Stanley Cup. Just the question is, are they going to be able to, sustain through the injuries at the beginning of the season and, progress throughout the year like we saw in 2018 and get better and get hot when the time is right. When the time is right and see what happens. But, as all the four major sports in this area, that's the one team you had the most confidence in that, any year that they can take it and go all the way. And for the same thing about next year.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for KR for the raid. I would say it's unexpected, but I was actually over in that chat as well. Oh, the Mississippi starts in with the Go Flyers right away. But I appreciate the raid, KR and everybody for joining in. It's gonna come in like just 2 seconds, but I appreciate her sentiment on his own thing. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year. I hope the Capitals do well and just keep it close early on, and then they end up scoring. And so I'm gonna miss you, buddy. It's been fun doing these. The next couple of weeks will be interesting. Next week we're gonna have the LG music on, doing some merch design. This week we have KR doing an art stream. So for these 2 weeks we're continuing our art streams afterwards. Anyone wants to join us on Twitch, they can do that. And so I appreciate everyone for tuning in on that side of things. I am going to end the Facebook live feed here in just a second, but Carol, any final thoughts that you have before we let you go and we end this Facebook live feed and then we do art on the rest of the stream?
As always, appreciate you guys tuning in, checking us out. Like I said, appreciate the new Twitch audience and everything y'all got going on over there. Like I said, we started this thing 7 years ago, just as something to do, and now we turned it into a whole brand and a whole show and everything. Like I said, I'm not gone. I'm leaving it in capable hands with the team, SportsOTHP and Robbie. I'm sure he's going to continue doing great things. I'm not gone. I'm going to try to pop in, especially during hockey season. That's one of my favorite segments, with Anna Kay and Robbie talking about Capitals. So, I might be able to drop in every now and again. I'm on lunch break or something, jump on my phone on Zoom, try to get in sometimes. But like I said, appreciate everybody, checking us out, riding with us, supporting us, giving us, we give the real sports media, no clickbait, no anonymous sources, none of that BS. Like I say, stay tuned. I'm working on some other things. That's why I've been getting out in the community, dealing with some of the local sports media. So, like I said, I'm working on some things. Don't be surprised if you might see your boy pop up somewhere, maybe on a radio station or something like that. So, just as always, man, just appreciate the love, appreciate the support, and just continue to support us, and we're going to continue to grow and take this thing to the next level.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, CP3. We'll miss you on the night show, but I'm excited to hopefully start something during the day with you as well. And it'll be fun. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in on Facebook. I'm going to be editing the text for the show because I think that got messed up when I shared it. But I appreciate everyone for tuning in on that. A lot of great comments all night long. And I appreciate everyone for being a part of that stream and the audio podcast. We're going to end the audio podcast there, and we'll be back with you next week. We'll recap the Dallas one and also talk about any of the other hockey and basketball offseason news. But we will end our Facebook Live there. And then stop
recording stopped.
And then
recording in progress.
So we're now starting a second stream live over on Twitch, but I appreciate you, Carol, for joining us. We're going to bring in KR now, and but Carol, thank you again for being a part of the show, and we'll definitely talk more offline.
All right, man. Y'all take it easy. Have a good rest of the show. And DC Sports Out of Politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. CP3 live from the lab, and I'm out.
Sounds good. I appreciate you as always, Carol, and we'll bring KR live if he hears me. He can turn on his mic.